Today on Global News Morning, more reaction to the passing of Queen Elizabeth II. And we hear from the community at James Smith Cree Nation as they continue to grieve after this week's mass stabbing.
You're watching Global Regina. This is Global News Morning.
Good morning. Thank you for joining us. On the year she celebrated her Platinum Jubilee, marking 70 years on the throne, Queen Elizabeth II has passed away at the age of 96. During her illustrious life, the Queen made many trips to Saskatchewan and became quite fond of the province and its people. After the news of the Queen's passing, key figures across Saskatchewan were quick to share their thoughts and tributes. Saskatchewan Premier Scott Moe says she was queen during the term of 12 Canadian prime ministers and 9 Saskatchewan premiers. But even more enduring was the dedication, dignity, and grace with which she served as Queen of Canada and the Commonwealth. The Lieutenant Governor of Saskatchewan, Russ Morasti, says she was committed to reconciliation. He says the Queen acknowledged the painful history that Indigenous peoples endured in residential schools and in Canada, and the work that remains to heal and build an inclusive society. And the Queen's connection to Saskatchewan held true until her last days, as the final public statement from Her Majesty was a message of condolences to those affected by the recent stabbing attacks.
Today we found out the monarch that served Canada has passed. She wrote a letter to James Smith Cree Nation on behalf of the monarch, expressing the condolences to the families, the friends, to the community, and to the rest of the world.
And that was the chief of James Smith Cree Nation referencing that message sent from the now late Queen Elizabeth just 3 days ago. The man believed to be responsible for the deaths of 10 people and injuring 18 others is no longer on the run. A dramatic ending to the 4-day manhunt finished with what police believe to be the self-inflicted death of Miles Sanderson. And now, for the first time since the Labor Day weekend stabbing, we are hearing from the community where it all started. Our Nathaniel Dove has more from James Smith Cree Nation as they try to make sense of what happened and come to terms with their grief.
I have a young lady here. Her husband was one of the accused. Her husband was accused of killing my sister.
The family of the dead with their arms around the family of the suspected killer. Daryl Burns' sister, Gloria, a first responder, died Sunday morning during a stabbing rampage. He says rushing to help someone else. The Burns family now hugging the widow of Damian Sanderson, one of 2 people RCMP hold responsible.
I lost my husband and my dad, too.
After 4 harrowing days with suspected killers on the loose, James Smith Cree Nation can rest. The 2 men at the heart of the stabbing spree now dead themselves. The community gathering to mourn those lost, to look for answers, and push to make sure violence never happens again.
The parole board has to be more transparent and to make some fundamental changes in consultations with First Nations peoples.
The other suspect, Miles Sanderson, had a long and violent criminal history. Yet, the Parole Board of Canada determined he posed no undue risk. Questions and shock from people at James Smith, and calls for a new solution: treatment for addictions and an Indigenous Police Association.
To work in conjunction with the RCMP, the eyes and ears at the ground level when the response time is not quick enough. We'll have our own on-reserve tribal police.
A vision for a new future, but one without loved ones in it. Now a time for grieving and healing that begins, Burns says, not with anger, but understanding.
Our family is here to forgive. This woman shouldn't have to bear that kind of guilt and shame and responsibility.
Nathaniel Dove, Global News.
And now we head over to the Weather Center, check in with our Moises Canales Levine for our weekend update. Things are looking good, Moises, now?
Yeah, it's starting to clear up a little bit, but we have a mix of sun and cloud coming up this afternoon. And as you can see here, 8 degrees currently in Regina, a west wind at 19 kilometers per hour. So here's what I can tell you. It won't be as warm as what we've seen the last couple, I guess, earlier this week, but we should return to some warmer temperatures coming up later on in the weekend. Let's look at what current temps we have right now in the province. As mentioned, Regina at 8 degrees, Moose Jaw at 9, Saskatoon 7 degrees, along with the southeast Weyburn and Estevan. As we look at your highs for today, we're not getting to the 20-degree mark for the most part. Might see that in Moose Jaw at 19 degrees, but Regina 18 in the southwest, Maple Creek 18, Swift Current 17, along with Saskatoon, Elbow, Yorkton. Now, we will have a little bit of cloud coverage today, folks. As I mentioned, mix of sun and clouds, so we'll see those scattered clouds throughout the central and southern parts of the province, even eastern Saskatchewan. Those are going to move out of the way. They're going to go eastward, and we're going to have some clear conditions coming up for your weekend. As you can see here on your Saturday night, not a cloud in sight. Should be a fun one, folks. What we see for your upcoming weekend here in the Queen City, 21 and clear on Saturday. Those clear conditions will follow through right into Monday. It's looking the same for Moose Jaw, and they could see 30-degree temperatures coming up on Sunday, so it will be a hot one in the Jaw. And Swift Current 23 Saturday, 32 Sunday as well, and hoping to get to 26 degrees on Monday. What we'll see for your next 7 days in Regina, those hot temperatures in the weekend, but we'll return to some cooler temps and some cloudy conditions on Tuesday. Let's take a look at your Saskatchewan photos of the day. Marge Walton sent this one in from Regina. Nice sunrise shot. Here's a sunset shot from Joel Gar at Jackfish Lake, and a couple kids working hard during harvest.
Well, thank you, Moises. Recent weather conditions in the province are allowing producers to make progress on the harvest. The Southwest region leads harvest operations with 83% of the crop harvested. The West Central region sits at 61%, Southeast 33%, Northwest 28%, East Central 27%, and Northeast at 21%. With the harvest still in progress, the government is reminding producers to take breaks, be careful, and remain safe when working. Now, it's something every parent fears, dropping your kid off at daycare and returning to find they're nowhere to be found. One Regina mother had that happen to her Tuesday, and it's an experience that she says has kept her up at night. Brody Ratcliffe has the story.
On Tuesday, mother of 2 Lenora Bitternose woke up and did her usual routine, part of which was taking 3-year-old Joseph for his second day of daycare at YWCA. 7:45 was the drop-off time.
I took him in the center. I left him with the manager of YWCA childcare, and he held another little boy's hand, and they walked into the playroom to go play.
Lenora returned close to 5 o'clock, but when she arrived at the front desk, she was surprised to learn that staff didn't know where Joseph was.
I said, I'm here to pick up Joseph, and they said, oh, Joseph, he's not here today. I said, are you sure? Because I dropped him off this morning.
Lenora's mind raced about where her son could be.
So that's when the panic started to set in. I said, okay, if he's not up there, he's not down here, where is my son?
She called the police but was redirected to social services. As worry continued to flood her mind, she got good news. Joseph had been found.
It was a relief that he was safe. I knew he was safe because my mind was running.
According to Lenora, Joseph was spotted in front of the YWCA by a staff member around 9:30 a.m., nearly 2 hours after his drop-off. The worker called police and Joseph was taken by social services. He'd been in social services care all day, with no one alerting Lenora or the daycare. Lenora says she has lost trust in the YWCA. CEO Melissa Coomber-Benston says check-ins were not made by staff.
The procedures that we have in place were not followed that day.
She adds changes need to be made, adding additional oversight and more training. Lenora says one day she will send little Joseph back to daycare, but it won't be at the YWCA. Brody Ratcliffe, Global News.
Still ahead, there's a new monarch, King Charles III. Up next, we take a look at what comes next for Britain in the wake of the Queen's passing. But first, a live look outside with our Global Regina City Cam, brought to you by the Capital Auto Mall on the corner of Rochdale and Pasqua. We made it to Friday, 8 degrees, getting up to a high of 18. You're watching Global News Morning. Stay with us.